Hello, class. As I promised, I am giving you a video lecture because on Monday we have Labor Day, so my Monday, Wednesday class will not meet. And then on Tuesday, I will be out of town as well. So my Tuesday class will not meet either. So in order to keep us going on the syllabus, I have decided to give you a really short video, and then we have 2 assignments related to that. One of the assignments, you're going to need to watch the whole video to be able to know what you need to do. And then the second assignment, I'm going to kind of share with you some strategies for completing it. So be sure that you watch this. Like I said, I have a YouTube channel of this, so you're welcome to smash the like button or subscribe button or whatever it is people say and join it so you can kind of keep up with things. Okay, I am going to share my screen, making sure everybody can see it, and want to share with you what I'm going to talk about. By the way, I'm not going to upload these PowerPoints, so you will have to watch this, even if we put it on 2 times speed, to be able to capture this information. And I do want you to take notes. As always, you're adding to the notes that you've already taken. So first of all, what I'm going to do in this time that I'm recording this is I'm going to kind of begin with the reminders about our community principles. I know I shared that in class this week, but I'm going to do it one more time. We're going to review the content that we covered last week. So those of you who missed or we moved it really quickly, just want to give you a time to kind of debrief and think about what it is that we did. We're going to learn more about what faculty do and don't do. So I have some specific information related to that. We'll also discuss how to appropriately email a professor. Many of you already have been emailing me for various reasons. You've done a great job. I'm so proud that you're already reaching out and doing those things. But I'm going to show you a scenario that is unfortunately sometimes happens to some students, and then you're going to get a chance to revise that email so that it is a better email. And then we're going to talk about the 6 adjustments, and I'm going to cue you up for the assignment that you have related to that. So one of the first things that I want to just remind us is we all came together at the beginning of the semester and we created community principles for our classes. They revolved around preparation, communication, attitude, attention, and focus. And those are the categories and the standards by which you're going to self-evaluate twice this semester. You will self-evaluate, it is in the syllabus, by the way, or in the planner. And then you're going to meet with me about that evaluation. So let me just be really clear. You are new to college, perhaps, almost all of you. It is a process. You will make progress. You will improve. I don't expect everyone to be perfect, but I do want us to use these standards to kind of check ourselves about how we're doing. And I will nudge you. I will remind you of those community principles if I feel you're getting off track. And the reason I do that is because I've been doing this long enough that I can see whenever students might be heading towards not engaging in the class, not paying attention and really getting the most out of it. And that usually shows up later on through tests and assignments where students don't do as well as they could have if they were doing the things that they needed to do. And so it may seem a little bit like jarring that I might nudge you, poke you, prod you to let's pay attention, let's stay on task, let's make sure that we're capturing what we need to do. But really, it's a long-term strategy for me to help you develop those skills, behaviors, and habits so that it's working in not only our class, but all of the other classes that you're going to be taking. And I will, we'll talk about it. We'll kind of keep working on it. And I guarantee you, you will make progress if you're having any difficulty in some of these. So just to remind you, preparation, I think we all discussed that you would come to class prepared. You have read the material thoroughly, effectively. You have taken notes on it. Okay, and you bring those notes with you in some form, whether it's paper or you have it in a folder on your computer. We also talked about communication and making sure that whenever a professor emails you, whether I email you or someone else, that you are going to check that communication and respond in a timely manner. And then, of course, some of you are doing this very, very well. If you are out for any reason, a lot of people get sick at the beginning of the semester because they're around new people. Communicating with me, letting me know that that's going on is really, really just a good rule of thumb. It's professional, and it's, I really, really appreciate it. So thank you for doing that, because I do worry about you. Attitude, y'all have done a great job of coming in, even when you're tired, even when you're worn out, to embrace what we're doing and really show some enthusiasm. And you're going to notice that that enthusiasm is infectious. And whenever somebody is overcoming that kind of bad day they might have, or maybe they've had a long day, it makes other people feel better, and they feel more engaged in the class. Attention and focus, majority of you are doing a great job. I know we are using electronic devices, and I don't ever want to not do that, because I think they can be really, really helpful to your capturing information and interacting in the class. Just be really mindful of whether or not it is causing a distraction to you. Because when that happens, then you disengage from the class, and you deplete the ability to really get something out of it. I'm going to try to be as entertaining as possible. I'm going to move us quickly through things in order to kind of keep you engaged and re-engaged. But I'm not perfect, and not everything is going to just light your hair on fire. So if you're struggling with this, I've got a lot of strategies that can be helpful. You can talk to me one-on-one, but I want you to make a commitment to finding ways to eliminate or reduce those distractions while you're in class. And if it means that you're going to have to participate in an alternate manner, maybe not on your phone, or if you're going to handwrite notes instead of being on your computer, then please feel free to do that, and we can work around that. No problem at all. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what we've covered so far. We have definitely covered the 6 adjustments, and I did share that in a PowerPoint, and we talked about that in class. We've also talked a lot about the hidden curriculum, in some ways very specifically. So I've said these are elements of the hidden curriculum, but a lot of stuff that we've already talked about is hidden curriculum stuff. It is what we don't always know whenever we first come to college, and I am committed to sharing with you all the tips, tricks, skills, what professors mean when they say this, what you should be doing when this occurs. And so we'll probably carry hidden curriculum throughout the rest of the semester. We also spent some time last week on UCA specific terms, as well as some generic college terms, and knowing that information. Again, you didn't have to know all of it. I didn't expect you to, but know that we're going to touch on some of the concepts and terms later on in the semester. So degree works, for example, love that you know what it is already, but do know that we will actually work with it probably late October, early November. We did an activity on high school to college differences, and so we spent some time trying to capture that information. Some of it seems very straightforward. You kind of know the differences that are going to occur. Some of you seemed really, really shocked by how much time outside of class you need to be spending. And so I told you this week, or this past week, if you are doing nothing at all on the weekends, could mean that you are not spending enough time preparing for the week that's coming up and reviewing the week that just went. If you're managing to get all that done in the 5 days of the week, and you spend 40, 45 hours just on schoolwork 5 days a week, maybe you get to enjoy the weekend, but chances are you're probably pulling in some social stuff, some just taking care of yourself stuff. And so that means that the weekends might have to be used as well for the academic stuff that you're doing. And then we ended this past week with case scenarios. We're going to do some more of that. And why that's important and important to know and practice is you will see that on the midterm. And I want to be really clear that the case scenarios, whenever you answer them, when we talk about them, we're going to tie them directly to content we've covered. So I want you to see that connection. So not just generic advice that you're going to give the different students in the case scenarios, but very specific advice that you have shown me that you learned from chapter 1 or chapter 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever we're doing. So what we have not covered, I think this is just as important, is we haven't really covered developing relationships with others in college. We'll do a little section of that in a minute. We did not get a chance to cover the value of a college degree, but it's still in the chapter and still going to be something that will pop up in quizzes or in a test. We have not talked about your why or purpose for being in college, and you're doing that in a journal. So perhaps I don't need to cover that. We will definitely come back to it whenever we talk about planning your degree. And then we haven't really talked about resources for supporting your college experience. We have talked around the edges, but not really the whole thing. And I'll share some stuff at the end of this about resources. But first, I'm going to give you some specific information. Again, this is additional to what is in the book. And I'm going to try to remind you whenever you need to star something in your notes. This is additional content. It's not in the book. So let me talk a little bit about professors, and I've talked a little already about them. One of the first things that I haven't said is you should always address your professor as professor and their last name, or doctor and their last name if they have a doctorate, or if you're not sure they do or not. What I want you to avoid doing is calling people Miss or Ms. or Mrs., especially females. I have a doctorate degree and I would like to be called Dr. Baldwin. No, it sounds silly perhaps to you, but for professionals in this field, it's very important and it is a sign of respect. If you are not sure what to call them, you can always ask, what do you prefer? A professor covers everything, so you're always safe with that. And if a professor says, you know, I'd really like you to call me Mark or Lily or whatever, certainly if that's comfortable to you, do that. But do be mindful of that. I hear a lot of people using Miss or Mrs. And I just want you to know that sometimes professors are not married or they're not going by their spouse's last name. And so this just eliminates all of that. Your professors, for the most part, are experts in their discipline. They spent many, many years in biology, criminology, sociology, history. You get the point, right? And so they're kind of enmeshed in that world and they know it well. Sometimes we get so excited about our discipline, we don't think about anything else. And we find what we are learning and what we're teaching incredibly fascinating, even if you don't. So just be mindful of that and be respectful of the expertise that they bring to the table. This may be a very different environment than what you experienced in high school. Not to say that those weren't experts in their field at all. I had fantastic English teachers throughout my whole K through 12 experience, but it is a different level of education and different level of emphasis over someone's career. And being mindful of that can be very helpful. I may have shared this already. One of the things that distinguishes us from teachers that you might have had is we do much more than teaching. We help run the institution. So a lot of us are in leadership roles. And so we do policy, we do practices, we review what's going on at the institution to make it better for students. We might be running grants. We might be applying for millions of dollars to come to UCA, and then we're in charge of spending all of that money. We might be doing our own research as well. We have labs, we have other things going on, and then we're publishing that or writing about that. We may be supervising or mentoring graduate or undergraduate students. The list can go on and on and on. Some of us are very active in our professional organizations that are national or even international. So while we want teaching to be the focus of what we do at UCA in particular, it is often one of many, many things we do. And that's why it's really important to make appointments, to keep those appointments, and be mindful of the time that you're requesting from faculty, because they're having to juggle so many other things, just like you, honestly, just like you. Many of them have little or no formal training in teaching, and I'm included in that. Does not mean that they're bad teachers. It just means that they have to work a little harder to do the things that they know they should be doing. And this was a quiz question that I gave in Top Hat last week, and noted that a majority of you all got it wrong. It is also in the book. And so that might give you a little insight to go back there and double check that, maybe star this information. They may be focused on meeting the course objectives more than ensuring every student is on track. And I am not saying at all that they're not interested in your learning. What I'm saying is they've got a lot of content to cover. They're going to move quickly to make sure that they have fulfilled the course objectives. And they may expect you doing all of that heavy lifting outside of class to make sure you're learning. And they certainly can be a partner in that, but that is not necessarily going to be their focus in the classroom during that 50 or 75-minute time. They're also going to expect professional behavior both in and out of class. They're not going to tolerate shenanigans. Okay. And you came to me and said that you had heard that faculty are mean or they don't care about you, all of those kinds of mythical things that you heard about faculty. And you have said you're pleasantly surprised. They seem very, very nice. I hope that continues the rest of your college career. But do know the easiest way to get claws to come out is for students not to act like college students. Not to act like undergraduate students. And that goes back to our community principles. Be prepared, communicate, have a great attitude for learning, and be focused at all times during a class. And then you've got it nailed. You're going to be good. One of the things that you want to know that's kind of tied to those community principles and kind of how you want to present yourself in and out of class is professors sit on scholarship committees. They recommend people for internships, and a lot of them have connections in the business world. And I have been able to help a lot of my students when they've said they've had an issue with financial aid, or they're not sure, what they need to be doing to get ready for a career. I am not unlike any other professor who has those connections, who knows people on this campus and other campuses. And so we can be really, really helpful to students who connect with us. And that's kind of my last point here is you're not going to love all your professors. You're not going to feel comfortable with all of them. I hope you do. Hope you do the things that can help that. But I want you to designate at least one a semester that you want to get to know a little bit better, especially if it's in your field of study, what you're majoring in, so that you can then identify people on campus for a letter of recommendation, for some advice about majors and careers. That is going to be really, really helpful to you in the long run. So please be sure that you're cultivating relationships with professors. So I'm going to show this grid. This was in your book, still is in your book, and just want to show you that it kind of echoes what I've already said about faculty, or what we've talked about. But there's one thing that we have not really truly shared, which was about, we call it FERPA, Federal Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And that is something that governs our ability to talk to anybody other than you. And so if a family member contacts us about you, we are not even allowed to tell them that we have you in class. So be mindful that we don't talk to parents unless you give express permission. And even then, I would suggest that you really think about how you want to handle any issues you might have. It is totally fine if you feel like you need a parent or a guardian with you in certain situations. But a lot of times professors really want to work with you one-on-one, and they are pretty mindful of the fact that it may be the first time you've really talked to a professor and advocated for yourself. So just consider that. Sometimes I will have to tell a parent, I'd be more than happy to help you, but I need to have the student here with us or given express permission. But honestly, I'd rather really work with you, because I feel like I could make really good progress with things that you need. But again, just know you have the right to waive your FERPA right if you want to. And I want you to be able to understand that for sure. So we talked a little bit about professors. This obviously is from the book as well. I want you to think about the relationships that you're building. So maybe in high school, you had family, friends, and some authority figures, coaches, teachers, pastors, people in your community. As you move through your college experience, I want you to start developing peer networks and finding mentors on campus, upperclassmen, alumni, faculty can be mentors as well. But really that peer network is not just about that social adjustment that we've talked about. It's about building your network beyond college. And you may be surprised how many people you run into who might even be your bosses, or you might be their bosses, that you interacted with on campus. And so the more that you know people, the more that you connect with and get to work with, be a part of an organization with, the more those networks are going to grow and you're going to find are going to be really, really helpful to you long term. Yeah, okay. All right, so now here, I want you to pause for a moment. I mean, you don't have to hit pause, but pause and listen. In Blackboard for week 2, you have an assignment where you need to rewrite this poorly written email. So I'm going to talk through some of the things that are going wrong here, but I want you to figure out what you think you need to do differently and then rewrite it as if it were you sending me this. So one of the first things that jumps out to me is the email address, sexykitten@gmail.com. You'd probably be surprised at how much email I get like that from students. You want to, as much as possible, send anything to a professor from your Cub account. Variety of reasons why you should do this. For one, they don't have your personal email if you don't want that. And if you have a personality outside of your student status, then you can kind of separate those things out. The subject heading does nothing for me to be able to prioritize the emails that I get. Now, I routinely prioritize student emails. I'll at least look at them. If they're urgent, I'll respond. If they're not urgent and need a little attention, I'll wait until I have some free time to do that. But not every professor is like that. And it may be the end of the day before professors even look at their email and start responding. But if you can give a subject heading that is very clear as to what it is the email is about, that's going to help us tremendously. So if you have a question about assignment that is due tonight, that to me is a high priority versus question about an internship for next semester. And that tells me I can wait a little bit before I answer it. It's just common courtesy. So let's read this email. Hey, I really don't know what to do in the class. It seems every time I get an idea of what you want, you change it. I cannot fail this class. I will lose my scholarship and I ought know what to do to pass this class. Please, oh, please help me and answer me back ASAP. Okay, obviously this person is in distress, and that might happen where you are a little emotional, a little desperate, a little angry, all of those things. One of the things that you want to do is take some time to kind of come down from that and send something that doesn't have this kind of emotional charge to it. I often tell people if you can't do that in an email, then probably what you need to do is make an appointment for face-to-face, because that sometimes can calm you down enough because you've got you got to face somebody in real time. So what I want you to do is I want you to take this email, you're going to revise it, and that's what you're going to submit in Blackboard. And I want you to make it professional. I want you to make sure it clearly outlines the issue that the student is having. And you can make this up, okay? You can just say, dear Dr. Baldwin, again, we'll helping you out here with the salutation here. Dear Dr. Baldwin, I am having difficulty with, okay? And again, you want to make sure the tone of the email is very clear, it is professional, and it tells the professor what it is that is going on. You also want to clearly describe what you, or he, she, they need to make improvements. and be as specific as possible. Okay. Again, up to you as to how you want to make this up. And then it also clearly calls for an action step. This is where, the student does say, please, oh, please help me and answer me back ASAP. Little bit over the top there, but sometimes students will send me an email and they'll just say, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And that's the email. So that doesn't tell me they want to make an appointment. They need some help identifying it. There needs to be a call to action, something that I know I can do as the next step. Please, may I make an appointment with you? Those kinds of things can be very helpful. And so in the Blackboard shell, there are some specifics, making sure that you've got a subject header and you've got your name in the bottom of the email. This person didn't, obviously. There's also something else that you want to add to your email. You should add the course number and the day and time it meets, or the CRN. I have 3 ACAD 1300s. I also teach 2 other classes. If I haven't quite remembered everybody who, I've got 130 something students. And so I may not immediately be able to place your name with the course you're taking. In fact, a couple of emails this week I have sent with the wrong information because I assumed a student was in ACAD 1300 and they were actually in ACAD 1103. And so I totally messed up because I didn't know what section they were in. So give us that information. That really is helpful. Even if we see you every day, we know your middle name, we know what your pet name is, or your pet's name is, giving us that information is really helpful. Then we can look at the right Blackboard shell or look at the right course roster. Okay, that is your assignment. Get to it, okay? The second assignment for the week, because we are missing a day of class, either from the holiday or my not being there, has to do with the 6 adjustments and the resources that are on campus to be able to help you with those adjustments. We'll talk more and more about tutoring center and campus health center, which I've already acknowledged, because that is one of the biggest keys to your success, is identifying those resources and then using them when you need them. Okay, so this comes from the chapter. It's only part of the grid. I couldn't capture all of it, but your job in the 6 adjustments and course campus resource assignment that is due also on September 9th is to look at that adjustment, remind yourself of what the definition is, and then identify a campus resource. And you're going to give me where it's located, the times and dates it's open, or when it occurs, and then the reason it would help with that adjustment. So I'm going to give you a couple pointers. One is the more specific of an office that addresses that issue, the better. And the more information you can give about a particular person or office, the better. And you might spend some time making sure that whatever you quickly searched for actually does what you think it does. Okay, so be mindful, spend a little time, dig a little deeper, and don't just tell me that an RSO can help with social adjustment. I want you to give me a specific one, and where they meet and when they meet and how they meet, and then describe what it is that they do that could help with that social adjustment. And you can find that through looking at more information about that RSO through Cub Connect, for example. And also another little pointer, be sure you don't confuse intellectual adjustment with academic adjustment. Okay, so be mindful of that and think about kind of the examples that I gave in class about the difference or the differentiation between those. All right, thanks for listening. Remember, like this, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you didn't like it. And I will see you in class on Wednesday, what is that? The 7th, I believe, maybe the 8th. I don't remember what day anything is. And then I will see you on Thursday, and you will have until the 9th. I guess that's what it is. I'll see you on the 7th and 8th. You'll have the 9th through the 9th to complete these assignments. All right, take care.